Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The notification lit up the screen of my phone with a soft, deceptive glow, displaying a looping video of a golden retriever tripping over its own paws, accompanied by the caption, "Saw this and thought you needed a smile today." I didn't smile. Instead, I stared at the phone in my hand, then slowly lifted my gaze to the man standing across the expansive, glass-walled office. The man who had just fired the entire marketing department for using the wrong shade of cerulean. Julian Thorne, the CEO of Thorne Heavy Industries, the butcher of Wall Street, and the reason I developed a nervous tic in my left eye, was currently tapping his thumb against his own phone screen. The timestamp on my anonymous messaging app matched the movement of his finger to the millisecond. My heart hammered a frantic, terrified rhythm against my ribs as the realization crashed into me like a freight train. My anonymous digital confidant, the sweet, shy man who sent me puppy gifts to cheer me up, was the same icy tyrant who once told me my breathing was distractingly loud. Chapter 1. The frost and the flame. To understand the gravity of my discovery, you have to understand Julian Thorne. He was a masterpiece carved from glacial ice. At 6'3", he loomed over the boardroom like a monolith of dark charisma. He wore three-piece suits that cost more than my college tuition, tailored to accentuate the broad expanse of his shoulders and the dangerous taper of his waist. His face was sharp angles and high cheekbones, framing eyes the color of a stormy sea, gray, turbulent, and utterly devoid of mercy. Elias Vane was his executive assistant. In the hierarchy of Thorne Industries, that made me something between a glorified gatekeeper and a sacrificial lamb. For 2 years, I had survived on caffeine, anxiety, and the sheer spite of refusing to let him break me. I managed his schedule, filtered his calls, and endured his lacerating critiques with a stoic mask. But everyone needs an outlet. Mine was Sanctum, an anonymous chat app designed for high-stress professionals. No names, no photos, just avatars and text. I was Midnight Rider. He was Halo. We had matched 6 months ago. I had vented about my sociopathic boss, and Halo had listened. He was gentle. He was funny. He sent me pictures of sunsets, coffee art, and yes, stumbling puppies. He told me he felt trapped by expectations, that he wore a mask he couldn't take off. I fell for the digital ghost of a man while hating the flesh and blood devil in front of me. The meeting ended. The marketing team shuffled out, looking like they were marching to the gallows. Julian remained by the window, staring out at the rain-slicked skyline of the city. Elias. His voice was a low baritone that vibrated through the floorboards. The Kanashiro merger files. I want them on my desk in 10 minutes. And fix your tie. It's crooked. It offends the symmetry of the room. Yes, Mr. Thorne, I replied, my voice steady despite the chaos in my mind. I retreated to my desk outside his office, my hands shaking as I unlocked my phone. I opened Sanctum. Midnight Rider. Rough day? Through the glass wall I watched Julian. He sat at his desk, picked up his phone, and typed. Halo, you have no idea. Surrounded by incompetence. I had to let a team go. It's draining. I swallowed hard. Draining? He had looked bored, not drained. Midnight Rider, maybe you need to be softer with them. Honey catches more flies than vinegar. I watched Julian frown at his screen. He typed back. Halo, vinegar cleans the wound. Honey just makes a mess. But maybe I was too harsh. I just want perfection. The cognitive dissonance was dizzying. The man who just compared his employees to a wound was admitting doubt to a stranger. A stranger who was sitting 20 feet away. A wicked, dangerous idea began to unfurl in my chest. For 2 years, Julian Thorne had made my life a living hell. He had demanded the impossible, dismissed my efforts, and treated me like a piece of office furniture. But now I held the keys to his castle. I knew his secret softness. I knew his loneliness. I wasn't going to out him. That was too easy. No, I was going to play him. I was going to seduce the man on the screen and torture the man in the office. I would make him fall for me, twist him into knots, and when he was finally vulnerable, I would crush him. It was petty. It was vindictive. It was perfect. Chapter 2. The puppeteer. The game began the next morning. I arrived at the office 15 minutes early, bearing a peace offering. A latte. Not just any latte, but the specific, overly complicated order Halo had confessed to craving the night before. Oat milk, 2 pumps of hazelnut, extra foam, sprinkled with cinnamon. Julian would never order such a thing in public. He drank his coffee black as his soul. I knocked and entered. Julian was already working, the morning light reflecting off his silver tie clip. "Coffee, sir?" I said, placing the cup on his coaster. He didn't look up. "I didn't order this. Take it away. The smell of sugar is nauseating." "Just try it, sir. You look tired." His head snapped up, his gray eyes narrowing. "Are you commenting on my appearance, Elias?" "Merely an observation, Mr. Thorne. Please, if you hate it, I'll resign." He paused, the challenge hanging in the air. Julian Thorne never backed down from a wager. He reached out, his long fingers brushing against mine. A jolt of electricity sparked between us, startling us both, and brought the cup to his lips. He took a sip. I watched his eyes widen imperceptibly. The tension in his jaw slackened. It was the taste of his secret desire. "It is adequate," he muttered, setting it down but keeping his hand near the warmth of the cup. "You may go." I turned to leave, hiding my smirk. Step 1 complete. Later that afternoon, I messaged him on Sanctum. "Midnight Rider. Did you try being nicer today?" I watched through the glass. Julian stopped signing papers. He picked up his phone. "Halo. Someone brought me a coffee today. It was exactly what I wanted, even though I didn't ask for it. It was unsettling." Midnight Rider. Unsettling? Or intimate? Maybe someone sees you, Halo. The real you. I saw Julian stare at the phone for a long time. He looked up, his gaze piercing through the glass partition, landing directly on me. I was typing on my computer, pretending to be engrossed in spreadsheets. My heart raced. Over the next 2 weeks, I escalated the campaign. Halo complained about his stiff neck. I casually left a high-end ergonomic pillow on Julian's chair during lunch. Halo mentioned his favorite classical composer was Rachmaninoff. I changed the hold music on the office phone system to Piano Concerto No. 2. I was driving him insane. I could see it. He was becoming paranoid, constantly watching me with a mixture of suspicion and a strange, hungry curiosity. He was losing his composure. He snapped less. He stared more. But the game was a double-edged sword. To play Halo, I had to be vulnerable too. I had to share parts of myself to keep the conversation flowing. I told Halo about my dreams of being a writer, about my sick mother, about how much I hated the rain because it reminded me of a funeral. And Julian, he remembered. One rainy Tuesday, I was leaving the office late. I didn't have an umbrella. I was bracing myself for the run to the subway when the private elevator doors opened. Julian stepped out, flanked by his security detail. He stopped when he saw me. He looked at the torrential downpour outside, then at me. Without a word, he unbuttoned his long black trench coat and held it out. "Take it," he commanded. "Sir? I can't." "You hate the rain, Elias. Take the damn coat." I froze. I hadn't told Julian I hated the rain. I had told Halo. Panic seized my throat. Did he know? Had he figured it out? "I heard you mention it once," he added quickly, his gaze averting to the marble floor. "A lie. A clumsy, beautiful lie from a man who never lied, only omitted." I took the coat. It was heavy, warm, and smelled of sandalwood and expensive whiskey. The scent of him. "Thank you, Mr. Thorne." "Julian," he corrected softly. "When it's just us, you can call me Julian." He walked away into the storm, getting soaked in his suit, leaving me standing in the lobby clutching his coat and realizing that my plan had a fatal flaw. I wasn't just melting the ice around his heart. I was setting myself on fire. Chapter 3. The Gala of Thorns, the annual Thorn Foundation Gala, was the social event of the season, a Shark Tank masquerading as a ballroom dance. It was also the night I planned to end it. I told myself I needed to stop before I got too deep. I would ghost Halo, quit my job, and move to a different state. I wore a midnight blue suit that fit a little too tight, a reckless purchase. Julian wore a tuxedo that made him look like a prince of darkness. When we entered the ballroom, the air shifted. People parted for him like the Red Sea, their whispers following us. "Stay close," Julian murmured, his hand hovering near the small of my back without touching. "My stepmother is here. She's a viper." "I thought you ate vipers for breakfast," I quipped. The corner of his mouth twitched. A ghost of a smile. "Only with the right seasoning." The night was a blur of champagne and fake smiles until the sabotage happened. I was near the bar when I heard the commotion. A waiter accidentally spilled a tray of red wine all over Julian. It wasn't an accident. I saw the nod the waiter gave to a woman in emerald green across the room, Julian's stepmother. It was a humiliation tactic, designed to make him look foolish in front of the investors. The crowd went silent. Julian stood there, red stains spreading across his pristine white shirt like a gunshot wound. He looked frozen, his eyes wide with a flash of childhood trauma I had read about in the tabloids. The boy who was always bullied for being illegitimate before he clawed his way to the top. He looked small. My revenge plan evaporated. The anger I had nursed for 2 years vanished, replaced by a fierce, protective rage. I moved before I could think. I grabbed a napkin and stepped into the circle, placing myself between Julian and the gawking crowd. "An unfortunate slip," I announced loudly, my voice steady. "But considering the vintage, I'd say the floor is the only thing drunk tonight. Mr. Thorn, if you'll follow me, we have a spare shirt in the suite." I grabbed Julian's arm firmly. He flinched, then looked at me. His eyes were shattered glass. I squeezed his arm, a silent signal. "I've got you." I marched him out of the ballroom, glaring at anyone who dared to snicker. We made it to the private suite on the top floor. As soon as the door clicked shut, Julian crumbled. He sank onto the velvet sofa, burying his face in his hands. "They never let me forget," he whispered. "No matter how much money I make, I'm still the bastard child who doesn't know how to hold a fork." "Stop it," I said, my voice harsh. I knelt in front of him. "You are Julian Thorn. You built this empire while they were busy spending their inheritance. You are smarter, stronger, and better than all of them combined." He lowered his hands. His eyes searched mine. "Why do you stay, Elias? I am a monster. I know what they call me. Because," I said, my voice softening, "I know that underneath the armor, you're the kind of guy who sends puppy gifts to strangers because he's too lonely to ask for a hug." Silence. Absolute, deafening silence. Julian went rigid. "What did you say?" I hadn't meant to say it. It just slipped out. The secret was in the air, heavy and suffocating. I stood up, backing away. I should go. "Elias." He stood up. He didn't look angry. He looked intense, like a predator who had finally cornered his prey. But there was wonder there too. "You knew," he said, stepping closer. "All this time. The coffee, the pillow, the music. I found out 2 weeks ago," I admitted, my back hitting the door. I wanted to get back at you. For being a nightmare. And he was inches from me now. I could feel the heat radiating from him. "Did you get your revenge? Did you enjoy watching me dance on your strings?" "I tried," I whispered, looking up at his lips. "But it turns out, I like the man behind the screen more than I hate the boss." Julian let out a breath that sounded like a broken laugh. "God, Elias, do you have any idea what it's been like? Talking to you on that app was the only time I felt human. And then I'd come to work and see you. So efficient, so beautiful, so utterly off limits, and I wanted to fire you just so I could ask you out. You have a terrible way of showing affection, Julian. Teach me," he murmured. He placed a hand on the door next to my head, boxing me in. Show me how to be the man you want. It starts, I said, my breath hitching, with not treating me like an employee. Consider yourself off the clock. He kissed me. It wasn't a gentle, tentative kiss. It was a collision. It was 2 years of pent-up frustration, arguments, late nights, and hidden longing crashing together. Julian kissed like he ran his company, with dominance and precision, but there was a desperate hunger underneath. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer until there was no air left between us. I melted. I absolutely melted. The cold, unfeeling statue crumbled, and in his place was a man of fire and passion. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him down, claiming the nightmare boss as my own. Chapter 4. The morning after waking up in a penthouse bed that cost more than my parents' house was a surreal experience. Waking up with Julian Thorne's arm draped over my waist was hallucinations level crazy. He was still asleep, his face relaxed, younger. The lines of stress were gone. I reached out and gently brushed a lock of dark hair from his forehead. His eyes opened, gray but clear, like the sea after the storm has passed. "Morning," he rasped, his voice rough with sleep. "Morning, boss," I teased. He groaned and pulled me closer, burying his face in my neck. "Don't call me that, unless we're in the office. Even then, I might have to promote you to partner just to stop the HR violation. I prefer consultant for emotional intelligence and GIF selection." Julian laughed, a real, deep sound that rumbled through his chest. "Done. But be warned, Elias. I'm possessive. I'm difficult. And I'm still learning." "I know," I said, kissing his forehead. "I've got the instruction manual. It's in your chat history." We laid there for a moment, the city waking up below us. The world outside was still cold, the business world still cutthroat, and his stepmother was still a viper. But in this room, the dynamic had shifted. The king had stepped down from his throne to kneel before love, and the pawn had realized he was the queen all along. Julian tightened his hold on me. "Send me a GIF," he whispered against my skin. "Right now? You're holding me. I know. But I want to see which one you pick." I reached for my phone on the nightstand, found a GIF of 2 otters holding hands while sleeping so they wouldn't drift apart, and hit send. Julian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smiled, and kissed me again. "Perfect," he said. And that is how the assistant tamed the tyrant. If you enjoyed seeing Julian lose his composure and find his heart, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments. Would you have exposed his secret for revenge, or kept it to save him? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then.